Let's see if we get a Penn State guy. 860. Are you the Penn State guy?
What's going on? What's going on? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So are you indeed the Penn State fan that was going to call in? I just see the number. I want to make sure I'm talking to the right guy.
It is me. Shout out to Mr. Patrick. We're calling live from New York City right now. I enjoyed the show. You're very entertaining.
Oh, thank you.
But I was just scratching my head at some of the score predictions in the chat, but I wanted to talk actual football reasons with you.
Okay.
About the matchup. So, the one thing that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about is the chess match between Al and Kodanicky. Because if you ask me, I think Kodanicky has the respect of both fan bases enough to say, okay, Notre Dame is primarily cover one, right? And Golden is going to have to make a decision. Is he going to let Watts, who's an outstanding player in the open field, roam free and be natural and be a point guard back there for you guys? Or is he going to shade Watts with Warren the whole time and kind of leave other areas open? Now, a Notre Dame fan will probably be like, hey, Penn State are not a threat down the field, but they're like sixth, I believe, in like explosive play rate for the passes. They're like sixth in the country. So they do get the ball down the field in the posts and the seams.
Yeah.
So it's like decisions are going to have to be made throughout the game. I know a lot of people give Franklin like a hard time and can coaching adjustments, whatever have you, right? But
yeah,
I think he's hired good coaches.
Yeah.
And he lets them do their job.
Can I ask you this?
To be honest,
I want to ask you a genuine question. I'm not trolling in any way. I don't have a lot of interactions with Penn State people. I'm genuinely wondering, what is your trust and belief level in James Franklin? Like, have the two playoff wins garnered enough, like, full trust from that fan base, or is there still a little bit of doubt? Like, okay, it was SMU at home and it was Boise. I almost look at it as like, I'm asking, is this the kind of measuring stick that Freeman had last week against Georgia? Is it being looked at that way from your guys' side? Or like, what's the belief level in James Franklin in these big games?
So it's interesting. I think that he took care of business, and I feel like the fan base knew those first two games were like very business-like situations that he had to take care of.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'll put it to you this way. At the end of the day, for the people in that building, they're huge games. Because if you don't win those, you don't get to tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So in their eyes, they were big games. In the fans' eyes, this one is the one, right?
Yeah, and I feel that, man. I feel that because of some of the pressure on Franklin and some of the big game, top-ranked matchup like results, like. I feel that because Notre Dame's had that. Brian Kelly had that. Marcus Freeman had to battle that. So I can relate to that kind of feeling with that man.
I will say this, though. I feel like the narrative, the big game narrative for both these schools is a little different. From a Notre Dame perspective, you guys were losing to like a bigger sample size of programs in these big games, right? Like all types of programs. Penn State loses to two programs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Dude, I love that.
Ohio State. It's almost like,
bro.
I thought the Oregon game validated a lot of feelings for Penn State fans that this may be a two-team problem.
Yeah.
Because, like, they can play. They don't have the mental block playing against anybody not in scarlet and gray and maize.
I get that, man. I get that. And you know what frustrates me about it? I'm a Notre Dame guy, and I always am going to hate Michigan. It's not USC, but I'm always going to hate Michigan. And Ohio State, everybody loves to hate on. But it was frustrating because every time you would tune in and be like, can Penn State knock off one of these teams and really mix things up in the Big Ten? It just never happened. And then it's just kind of frustrating to watch. And I do get what you're saying now. I get what you're saying now. It's like a Big Ten thing. And if you zoom out of that, maybe there's some freedom in that.
It was happening. It was happening. Then, Jim Harbaugh got his wig knocked off a few times that night in Happy Valley, and they got with Fox and said, we don't want to do this anymore, right? You know, you got Saquon Barkley scoring 18 touchdowns in the first half at night in a whiteout. They didn't like that too much. So we haven't played Michigan or Ohio State since Fox took over at night. So
how do you look at Notre Dame, man? Let me flip it. How do you view Notre Dame? I'm genuinely interested from the outside. I'm so close to this. Every day it's my life I think about. Like how is your side viewing Freeman and Notre Dame and this roster? I'm genuinely interested.
So I come from a coaching family, come from a football family. So, you know, once Freeman got the job, my respect level went up immediately because I knew he could get young guys to play for him. I never thought Brian Kelly had the bandwidth or like the emotional bandwidth to like get young kids to really play for him.
That's how we feel. That's how we felt too. Oh, you're right. You're hitting the right vein there because that's how we felt.
So you saw the change. You saw the change. It used to be, you know, a couple years ago, like Notre Dame would get hit in the mouth in a big game and kind of fold, right? I don't see that anymore. I don't expect that anymore. From like an actual like on the field perspective of Notre Dame, I think they are one of the most physical teams left in the tournament. I think that injuries, right? Everybody's battling attrition right now, but I think that injuries kind of warped how much better they could have been.
Yeah,
I guess that's the reality that they're in right now. As far as how they play, they remind me. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough to remember the better Stanford teams back in the day, with a lot more kind of like twitch and athleticism on defense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get.
I'll tell you this though, to be totally honest, like this is about to be a Big Ten game, stylistically.
Yeah,
and I don't like, me personally. I've watched a lot of Notre Dame football. I don't like the way Notre Dame's offense. I don't like the way they look over long stretches, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
it looks clunky at times.
You're not gonna have me arguing. You're not gonna get much pushback from me on that. Like you're not wrong. I ain't gonna push back on you.
Like as we get more into it, I'm like, man, are we about to see like a more like classic style? And I'm not calling you guys Iowa at all, but just the way, like when Iowa has a really good football team, when Michigan has a good football team that matches up well with Penn State, those WWF Royal Rumble type games where guys are just going to get thrown out the ring or they're not going to get thrown out the ring over 4 quarters. And I don't see, with the injuries Notre Dame had, I don't know if they're going to be able to hang like offensively and put things together, and like, because and you guys can call it a fan, a homer's perspective. I just don't believe that the defensive line of Notre Dame can play up again for 4 more quarters.
Man, it's a big question. It's a big question I have is Notre Dame's down, 3, 4, 5 guys along the defensive front. And it's like, and I've been asking,
that's why I was bugging out in the chat when people were like 30 to 14. I'm like, how?
But
they got a lot of people out.
Here's what I'm saying though. They're down a lot of those key guys, and they're doing the next man up thing most of the year, and it really hasn't resulted in a drop off in production. And then you start being like, are we just not playing good teams, or are they really developing that good? Like, but it's one of my questions I have too is, man, is it finally going to catch up to Notre Dame where as much as they want to in their hearts, physically, they just kind of run out of gas? Like that is one way if you ask me, like, how could this go wrong for Notre Dame? One of them would be like, Notre Dame just can't get up the way they did for Indiana and Georgia. It's one too many weeks with a beat up defensive line or whatever, and you just can't keep that intensity up. That's a concern I have, and I don't want it to happen, but it is a concern. So how do you see this thing going, man? Anything else you want to cover on the way out? Thanks for calling.
No, of course. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's all love. all the time. Just happy to be seeing football. The northern teams are representing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
As far as this game is concerned, after all the talk we've had, after all the callers today, it's gonna come down to what it's always come down since people have been in Pop Warner. It's how are you firing off the ball?
Yep.
And how are you tackling?
Yep.
And then
turnovers.
Third. Yeah, turnovers, of course. I really don't think, I could be wrong. I think it's going to be a pretty clean game in that regard, because I think both teams' coaches are obsessed with the turnover battle. And Marcus Freeman and James Franklin, whatever you want to say about him, he is obsessed with the middle eight. He's obsessed with it. And anybody that bets on college football will tell you that Notre Dame is great at it.
Yeah.
Because you look up, and there's 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and by the time you go to the bathroom, get your chili, Notre Dame's up 14 somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like, They made a play. Halftime comes on, and they make a play out the gate. Penn State is the same way. Both of these coaches obsess over the middle eight, so I'll be looking at the middle eight very keenly. And then the quarterbacks. This is a quarterback game. Who doesn't mess up? Who makes the ordinary throws? Who makes a couple plays with their arm?
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't see Riley Leonard making a lot of plays with his legs. He's gonna have to throw the pill. He's gonna have to throw the rock.
Yeah, it's this is going to be interesting, man.
I don't think Penn State will allow it.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling, being civil about it, and having a good conversation. I really appreciate it. It's healthy, man. You're gonna take crap from the chat, but that's the way it goes. I mean, you're in the Notre Dame show, but I like mixing it up and bringing. I need some different opinions in here and some people that aren't Notre Dame people. It's healthy. Don't forget to check out the merchandise. The link is in the description. You can browse and carouse all the different Always Irish gear. Make sure you head over there and get something for the next tailgate. Thanks for being here.